Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a story so incredible, it captivated millions and became a blockbuster movie directed by Steven Spielberg, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm talking of course about Frank Abagnale Jr., the legendary teenage con artist who supposedly posed as a pilot, a doctor, and a lawyer, all while cashing millions in fraudulent checks and evading the FBI. But what if I told you that the greatest con Frank Abagnale ever pulled was the story itself? For decades, we've been told this amazing tale. A brilliant, charming young man runs away from home and, using nothing but his wits, lives a life of glamour and adventure. He impersonates a Pan Am pilot, flying over 2 million miles for free. He becomes a chief resident pediatrician in a Georgia hospital, somehow without anyone noticing he's not a doctor. He even forges a Harvard law degree and passes the bar exam. The story is a modern-day fairy tale, a testament to audacious self-invention. It's the ultimate underdog story, and we all bought it. The problem is, when you start looking for evidence to back up these incredible claims, you find, well, almost nothing. Let's start with the big one, the Pan Am pilot impersonation. Abagnale claimed he flew for free all over the world, but Pan Am, the airline at the center of this story, had no record of this ever happening. There are no personnel files, no flight manifests, no internal reports about a teenager masquerading as one of their pilots for 2 years. An investigative journalist named Alan C. Logan, who wrote a book on this, dug deep into Pan Am's archives and found zero evidence. In fact, a Pan Am spokesperson in the late 70s flatly denied Abagnale's story, calling it an exaggeration. It seems the only proof of this grand adventure comes from Abagnale himself. Okay, so what about his time as a doctor? The story goes that he worked as a chief resident in a Georgia hospital for nearly a year. Again, when you look for the records, they simply don't exist. There's no hospital that has any memory of a Dr. Frank Williams, his supposed alias, working there. No pay stubs, no employment records, nothing. Think about it. A chief resident pediatrician who isn't a real doctor. In a real hospital, that would have been a massive scandal, a huge liability. There would have been investigations, lawsuits, and a paper trail a mile long, but there's silence. And the lawyer gig? Abagnale claims he forged a Harvard law diploma, studied for the Louisiana bar exam, and passed it on his third try. He then supposedly worked for the state's attorney general. This is another claim that falls apart under scrutiny. There's no record of him being admitted to the Louisiana bar under any name. The Attorney General's office, at the time, had no record of his employment. Once again, the only source for this incredible feat is Frank Abagnale. So if he wasn't doing all of that, what was he doing during those years, from age 16 to 20? The truth appears to be much less glamorous. Court records and newspaper clippings from the time paint a very different picture. It turns out Frank Abagnale spent a significant portion of that period in and out of local jails and prisons for petty crimes. He wasn't jet-setting around the world. He was serving time for things like stealing from a local family business and passing a few bad checks for small amounts, like $50. One key piece of evidence comes from a 1969 newspaper article about the theft of checks and a check-writing machine from his parents' neighbors in Baton Rouge. A young Frank Abagnale was arrested for this. He was later apprehended in a grocery store after a chase. This doesn't sound like a sophisticated international con man. It sounds like a troubled teenager committing small-time fraud. The timeline just doesn't add up. The prison records show he was incarcerated for most of the period he claims to have been living his fantastic life of impersonation. He was in Great Meadow Correctional Institution in New York for a good chunk of that time. It's hard to be a globe-trotting pilot when you're in a state prison. So how did this myth begin? It all started in the late 1970s. After being released from prison, Abagnale needed a way to reinvent himself. He appeared on the game show To Tell the Truth in 1977. On the show, a panel has to guess which of 3 contestants is telling the truth. Abagnale was one of them, and his incredible story was presented. The host, Johnny Carson, was so captivated that he invited him onto The Tonight Show. That appearance launched his career. He started giving lectures, charging handsome fees to tell his story. He then co-wrote his autobiography, Catch Me If You Can, which became a bestseller. The narrative was just too good to fact-check. People wanted to believe it. He cleverly positioned himself as a security consultant, an expert who could teach banks and businesses how to prevent the very fraud he claimed to have mastered. This was his genius move. He sold himself as the ultimate poacher turned gamekeeper, and for decades it worked. He built a successful company and a sterling reputation based entirely on this fabricated past. The FBI, which he claimed to have worked for extensively, has also distanced itself from many of his claims. While they confirm he gave some lectures at the FBI Academy, they've stated that the extent of his collaboration has been greatly exaggerated. It seems Frank Abagnale's real talent wasn't impersonating pilots or doctors, but impersonating a former master impersonator. He crafted a compelling narrative, sold it to the public, and then sold his expertise based on that narrative. It's a feedback loop of his own creation. The media loved the story, Hollywood immortalized it, and the public ate it up. In a way, his entire post-prison life has been his one true long con. He didn't swindle banks out of millions. He swindled all of us with a story. Now, this isn't to say he was an angel. He did commit crimes, he did serve time, and he did hurt people with his early acts of petty fraud. But the grand, romantic, cinematic adventure, all evidence points to it being a masterful work of fiction, created to build a new life and a lucrative career. The boy who was caught for passing small-time bad checks became the man who sold a multi-million-dollar story about not getting caught. And that in itself is a con worthy of a movie. So the next time you watch Catch Me If You Can, enjoy it for the fantastic piece of entertainment it is, but remember the truth is often much simpler, and in this case a whole lot less glamorous. What do you guys think? Does this change how you see the story? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one.